achieve protection of witnesses in this country, and therefore our fight against corruption, our fight against organized crime will be compromised. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to indicate as the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development that it is an opportune time for us as a portfolio to pause and reflect on our work, to look at the progress that we have made in carrying the mandate of the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. The direction we follow in fulfilling the mandate was sent 70 years ago in the People's Charter that said, amongst the other things, all shall be equal before the law. To achieve the vision, it necessarily means we must work very hard to expand access to justice until such time that there is access to justice for all. The architecture of our justice system must be such that the justice system becomes the voice of the voiceless and the last line of defense for the poor and the vulnerable against injustice and violation of their rights in our country. Such a justice system must be founded upon functioning and strong institutions that are transparent and accountable and enjoy the trust and the confidence of the people. Our progress thus far should be measured by how well we have done in creating functioning and strong institutions of justice, how far we have gone in expanding access to justice for our people. The 7th administration under the Government of National Unity has challenged us to confront long-standing issues while laying a firm foundation for justice system that is modernized, transparent, accessible, and truly responsive to the needs of all South Africans. The first area I want to deal with is around the functioning of the department. Government has long committed to strengthening the capacity and within the justice sector. This begins with getting the basics right so that every member of the public experiences efficient, reliable, professional services when engaging with us. In this course of our work, in the past and over the years, it became evident that the department, like many institutions across government, has been managing several long-standing and well-known challenges. This includes pressures at the Master's Office, recurring IT systems or constraint, such as difficulty in terms of our services that we meant to have online, emails, human capacity shortages relevant to this report, operational weaknesses within the state attorney's offices. And these challenges, ladies and gentlemen, didn't occur. They were recognized by came before us, and my predecessors did well to lay a good groundwork in terms of the foundation to address this. Our responsibility has been to build on that foundation, strengthen interventions, and accelerate reforms to ensure sustainable improvements, align with the vision of capable, ethical, and developmental state. Ladies and gentlemen, these challenges were exacerbated by the lack of accountabilities in systems and the monitoring and evaluation that was a bit weak. Currently, we are bolstering digital transformation to modernize the Master's Office for efficient services to ordinary South Africans and executors. We have approached the Operation Vulindlela under their pillar of digitization of the state. And this was announced earlier, ladies and gentlemen, as you would remember, at the beginning of the year, that government, in terms of Operation Vulindlela, will work towards the roadmap of the digital transformation for South African government. And this flagship meant that the structural reform program in this area will assist all of us to have a blueprint for modernization of public service. We have entered in a phase where we are working together with private sector in a public and private sector partnership, where we have done a deep dive into our existing dysfunctional ICT system. This, I must say, I must appreciate the support from business sector and Business Against Crime, who, when we called them, they rushed to assist us because of lack of capacity and lack of resources that we were faced with, we were not able to deal with the challenges that we faced. As you would have seen previously, we would have talked about the ICT capacity issues and systems, but the challenges of people to drive the interventions that are needed. And therefore, out of this work that we have done with the partners, we're able to identify that our department had about 22 contracts and with vendors whose contracts were poorly managed and monitored. We could find that these contracts at times, over time, were renewed without value add to the department, and some of them not even held accountable for non-delivery. An example is a contract that was done, 5 years ended, it was repeatedly expanded without evaluation in terms of its work. And I must pause and say here, what is even worrying more for me is the brazenness and the attitude of the service providers that are working with the Department of Justice. Some of them, when their contracts come to an end and the department say we are not going to extend, or those that have been extended several times without following proper procedure, when now the systems are being put in place, they are either threatening to take us to court, or they're even sending threatening emails of shutting down or anything. Others go to an extent to send me emails so that I can interfere with procurement. This is a deep worry of what we can call a system where people became brazen to do wrong things. And we are grateful that we are turning around the corner, and that's why some of the pushbacks we are seeing in this area of work in ICT. We'll pay attention, and where necessary, we'll continue to open cases, because between myself and the DG, acting DG, we have approached law enforcement agencies in various instances to assist us, because we do think that they warrant for those to be built in that. And we do believe that in this work, we'll be able to build institutional integrity and capacity, which is central to a functioning department. As we know, ICT is most critical in our work. Around the Master's Office, the strategic partnership with the private sector will also focus on the turnaround strategy of Masters, which will be accelerated. We developed this turnaround, which was done by my predecessor. We have accelerated it. We're looking at ways. And as I said, ICT is largely one of the issues that has been a problem here. We are happy to report that through the intervention of our private partners, we deployed Standard Bank SAP specialists, because this is where SAP program is within Masters. They've been able to help us to resolve payment processes challenges, stabilize our payment processes, and restore operational integrity. I must say in this area, we continue to have a loss of money where people were stealing from our system in the Guardian funds, where money would be taken out, and in instances would pick up that the monies have been withdrawn in casinos and in churches. And when we work with FIC, some of the monies were irrecoverable. So we are happy that now there's work to stabilize, and we are seeing less and less of these instances of fraud where we are losing money, because previously would lose, for example, in 2 weeks or in a month, more than 17 million as a department. So this work does show that the partnership is turning around and is giving us a resolve in terms of the interventions that we are seeing currently. On the Office of the State Attorneys, what we acknowledge is that the offices of state attorneys are currently undercapacitated. The challenge which has not been attended since the establishment of the office, but also in terms of the resources that we have been available. As you know, that we faced financial crisis over time, and the predecessors would have tried to fill the capacity, but it has not been possible. So recruitment has been one of the challenges in this area. We have started to be able to look into this area and ensure that we reposition the Office of the State Attorneys to strengthen the state's legal capacity and improve its litigation process. One of the issues that we have already started to establish is establishment of a dedicated team that would work and focus on Constitutional Court and Supreme Court of Appeal, so that the office in Bloemfontein does not do all the other litigation, of all other courts and still have to deal with a Supreme Court of Appeal, which requires specialized skills and people who understand the appeal process as state attorneys. Similarly, with the Constitutional Court, you'd have either Pretoria or Johannesburg Johannesburg offices dealing with those. So we are establishing dedicated teams to focus on those. We do believe that this will assist. And I must say, quite a number of our employees are working under a lot of pressure. And one of the signals as an employer, you'd see when people are working overtime, long hours and not resting, not taking leave, you start seeing them, most of them being admitted into hospitals is because of work. So we are paying attention to this. We know the legal sector and legal practitioners have been raising this as a concern. And I must report that one of the issues previously we had to deal with was payments of legal services. And I must say now, we're currently up to date. We are paying our legal sector, and there isn't where we still experience more than 6 months of not payments. We are turning around, we've turned around the corner on that area, and we've made the necessary interventions by ensuring the delegations are done appropriately and those who are able to pay. Unless if the invoice has challenges, that's when it delays. So that matter has been resolved. It's one of those that was in the public domain. In terms of accountability, we have taken decisive steps in terms of internal processes. I must report, as even in Parliament I've been asked, in terms of the processes of those that we have announced that they are going through disciplinary action. I can confirm that with the Deputy Director General of ICT, but others, Head of Securities and others, the DC processes are underway. They have been formally charged and they are going through the process. With the Director General, the matter has been transferred to Minister Chrissy to deal with, and we are updated as the department and myself as the minister, and I've been made to make myself available to be able to testify in that disciplinary, and I've provided my dates of availability as soon as the team requested me for those dates so that these matters can conclude and will be able to finalize. I can confirm that we have about 164 labor relation cases that were finalized in the 24-25 within this the last financial year. But we also can indicate that we've been able to see 54 dismissal of officials for corruption, maladministration, fraud, theft, dishonesty, and other misconduct. We remain saying that we have zero tolerance for corruption and fraud in our institutions. Several matters have been referred for criminal investigations. This will be within the ICT environment, within the mail and guardian under the Master's Office, and also we are starting to implement the reports of SIU in relates to the Master's Office and the Office of the State Attorneys that have been done. Strengthening capacity is the core of pillar of justice. We have significantly strengthened capacity within our Magistracy, National Prosecuting Authority, and Court Interpretation Services, and the entirety of the portfolio in terms of even the sheriffs, that for a long time they were not filled the vacancies. A central pillar of the efforts is the Aspirant Prosecutor Program, which equips law graduates through a combination of rigorous theoretical training and practical courtroom experiences. Out of this process, we've been able to graduate this year 343 aspirant prosecutors. And you'd have seen, ladies and gentlemen, almost about 161 of the posts that existed in NPA have been progressively advertised and are being filled to close the gap in terms of the capacity and ensuring that even when we employ Section 38, there are people available for us to transfer those skills. Again, in the next area of work, you would have noted that the President has assigned myself as the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development with other panel members to chair the process of recruitment for the next NDPP. This work is underway. Next week, we will be conducting our interviews so that we can determine if any of them is fit for purpose and is suitable to be recommended to the President. I must indicate, ladies and gentlemen, it was disappointing when we received the CVs. Majority of qualified and fit and proper persons did not avail themselves. It's a question that we are asking ourselves as the portfolio, but as the leadership of the country. What will it take for us to see those professionals to come through and be willing to serve the nation? we could only have suitable candidates who are only 6. So as I explained last week, this was not a short list. It's only people who met the requirements out of the 35. And this is something that we are pausing. We have reflected as the panel to say what is it that we are going to be able to do. We have decided that we will make comprehensive recommendations to the President on issues that needs to be looked at in terms of security of tenure, protection of that office, but also in terms of being able to attract, including the issues of remuneration package, so that we can attract suitable candidates to be able to take the office. So we'll address the nation in this regard once the process have been concluded. You would have seen us as well in terms of making sure that we have in the interpreters, which is one of the issues that has been raised, we've been able to rope the interpreters so that there is professionalism. I know some of the legal practitioners were raising concerns about this to say they go for many years into law school and we are roping the interpreters. What we are trying to do is to ensure that there's uniformity and professionalism within our courts so that our interpreters don't come looking shabby and actually undermining the decorum of the court. To reinforce judicial capacity, following the Magistrate Commission's work, we received a recommendation for the appointment of 68 regional court magistrates who will begin their training with SAJ from the 1st of February 2026. Those appointments have been confirmed, and I have signed the appointments and the certificates. The Magistrate Commission has also finalized 68 senior magistrates, which we are currently finalizing the appointments. I will be signing the appointments together with their certificates once they are available. They have also advertised 198 district magistrate posts, which we are looking at filling by next financial year. This is important so that we can ensure that we do not continue to have acting magistrates. This has been raised with us, and this area is delegated to the Deputy Minister, who's working within this lower court's work. And most of the time is that there are no mechanisms and jurisdiction when you have an acting magistrate in terms of holding them accountable if there is some issues of ethics and in terms of their conduct. So that's why the importance of us ensuring that we can be able to ensure there's capacity in terms of appointments of magistrates, but it does ensure that the court roles can be able to move because there will be people who can move this in their courts. We have also, because over time there's not been appointment of permanent sheriffs in various offices, we have appointed 68 sheriffs across the country as part of capacitating the ability to do the work end to end within the value chain. Ladies and gentlemen, you'd remember that the President announced our commitment as government for the single and full institutional independence of the judiciary. This reform is not symbolic, it is a fundamental shift towards a more structural, independent judiciary aimed at strengthening our democracy. The model will place judicial governance and court administration under the office of the Chief Justice, which will assume executive authority. This is to be finalized, but who becomes the executive authority, and the Secretary General of the Office of the Chief Justice will become the accounting officer. This work is underway. We've been meeting with the heads of courts to work around this and also to be able to agree on the phased-in approach in implementation. Legislation will be developed once the policy areas have been clarified and therefore finalized so that we can be able to have this effectively happening. In this area of work, we have also recently engaged with the Magistracy, where we have agreed that the foundation document, which is the Mwepe report, they will use to consult with other magistrates or within the profession widely, and they will give us feedback in January, so that out of that feedback, we are able to finalize the process and be able to start drafting the legislation. I must indicate that this work is not done only by the Department of Justice, but it's done also it's a multi-institutional, multi-departmental task team within government. It involves the presidency, the Office of the Chief Justice, National Treasury, the Department of Public Service and Administration, the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, and police services. Improving access to justice and modernization of courts infrastructure. During our visits to courts and service points across the country, myself and the Deputy Minister have met staff who continue to serve with exceptional dedication despite difficult conditions, including aging infrastructure, security pressures, staff shortages, limited tools of trade, long-term temporary appointments, and many other things. And their resilience and commitment to the Batupili principle of public service is an inspiration, and I remain deeply grateful for their service and their commitment. They are our frontline staff that continue to listen to our advice or even our rally to call for them to be in service and to do well. And in this regard, because most of the time, the public thinks that public servants are just people who are corrupt, but there are many men and women who work very well. So we have agreed in working together with various partners to work in terms of upgrading our infrastructure, working together with public works and infrastructure, working together with SABC and correctional services to improve on our work. In this area, we are rolling out public-private sector as well. Partnership, you'd have seen the work that we have done with Josie Majosi in the High Court in Johannesburg, where we launched this partnership on the upgrading of the Johannesburg precinct, because we had shortfalls in terms of finances to be able to cover all this work. But in areas where we do not have water, we've been able to install water tankers, and we are continuing with that regard. In far-flung courts as well, we are looking as well, rolling out the solar installations to ensure there's availability of electricity across. In ensuring security, measures are strengthened. We are doing this in partnership with SABC, but from our side, we are ensuring that we have scanning machines that are work as we enter the courts. The number of deployed security office personnel in the court, we've been engaging as well between correctional services, metro policies, especially in your urban metros, and then also SABC, to ensure that within the precincts of our courts, there is protection. But we've been able to provide security for our presiding officers who are threatened. We make sure that we provide physical security where they work and also sometimes where they stay, but again, in terms of protection. This also has been extended in terms of NPA prosecutors, who, if we get that there is a security risk, we do extend the protection services, and the security team does continuous assessment in this regard. Ladies and gentlemen, moving into that area of ensuring that we can be able to modernize our courts is particularly to be able to ensure that we can move to the digital space, where we ensure that most of the information can be protected and can be able to roll out. I know the others are saying we must start fast-tracking the rollout of the court online in lower courts, and that is the work that will be looked into. The next area I want to deal with, it's our work in terms of fighting gender-based violence. We continue and remain committed. Even in this regard, I need to send my word of appreciation to all staff members and all the family of justice, where we called upon them on the charity drive for a toy and a book for children who are victims of gender-based violence. We collected this across the country during October, and yesterday again across the country. Employees of the Department of Justice, led by myself and the DM, have been able to visit centers and donate these toys. These were contributions by the justice team to say we care. One book, one toy, one future for the children who are victims of sexual gender-based violence. Again, in driving the reform in this area, we remain committed to ensuring that the National Register for Sexual Offences will be released public, and comprehensive work to review this area has started. We are in consultation process to be able to release this publicly. But what we have done currently, while we are waiting for review of this legislation, was to improve capacity across the country, appoint about 60 individuals deployed across our provinces so that they can be able to ensure the turnaround is improved in issuing of certificates, verification of those who are on the sexual offences register, and issue certificates where it's necessary, so that those who work with children and with the vulnerable are not found to be wanting, but have their certificates to clear them that they are suitable to work with those. Ladies and gentlemen, again in the area of sexual offences, we have committed to rolling out and upgrading courts that are dealing with sexual offences, 40 of them, as would have announced even yesterday when we were in on Thursday when we were in Free State. But again, we have 16 courts that are now designated additional for sexual offences court. In other forms that I need to move into, it's the area of review of legislation. I must indicate that in this area, we are reviewing the Criminal Procedure Act, that it's in its final work in terms of proposals of amendments. We are also amending the SIU Act to strengthen the work that we need to do in terms of SIU. We're also amending the legal sector codes and implementing key provision of the NPA Amendment Act in terms of oversight and accountability. This is in relation to the regulations that will provide for oversight over NPA. And again, the new legislation that we are bringing forth is a legislation that is called Protected Disclosure Bill. Protected Disclosure Bill will be the bill that goes into detail and protects our whistleblowers. So we'll not call it whistleblower bill. It's called Protected Disclosure Bill. What this bill seeks to do is to be able to put mechanisms in the country to protect whistleblowers, to be able to link the infrastructure that is currently linked with the witness protection, because as you know, the law currently says those who are in witness protection will be those that actually have a case before a court. So this will be expanding. There's been a call to have a witness protection, that whistleblower protection, that will protect the whistleblowers, and in other instances that people would have proposed that we must have, including incentives for this regard. So that bill has been concluded, is currently going through legal evaluation and what we call CS in cabinet, and it's with the technical team of the JCPS cluster. We're expecting within the last quarter of this financial year to have concluded this process, and it will be in cabinet and submitted to Parliament for Parliament to process it. I want to urge Parliament as well, we will write to the Leader of Government Business that this bill be prioritized as it is urgently needed. We are also in the area of work that I must indicate, ladies and gentlemen. The area of work that I want to follow is the one that deals with the mutual legal assistance. Previously, there would have been complaints and issues that are raised in terms of mutual legal assistance and some of the court decisions that would have been there. We have reviewed our process as the department in terms of where we are. We do believe that we are in compliance with the court orders, and that's why we continue to be able to do the work. We have written to countries where previously their letters would not have been signed by the minister. As I announced earlier in October, this has been done, the review, to ensure that those processes are not compromised. And currently, I must indicate that we have been able to successfully sign 35 mutual legal agreements and treaties on judicial cooperation and support in engagement with several countries. This remains important because when we are to do mutual legal assistance and are able to request people from those countries, or those countries request people to be exchanged, to be extradited, we do need these legal agreements in place. So this continues, and in the work that we want to continue to see. And that's why you can see the success in terms of the AKA case with the two brothers who were extradited from Swaziland, the Kingdom of Eswatini, back to South Africa. We remain committed to reviewing the process in relation to the Bushiri case, and also continue with that to be able to finally extradite. We know that initially we won the case and then it was overturned. We have received a summary of the judgment. We have not received full judgment, as every country is different in how they operate. Once that has been received, the full judgment, the NPA will be able to look into it and take further steps. I must go into the area because I've already talked about the issues, but just to indicate, ladies and gentlemen, strengthening the fight against corruption remains our important. National and global commitments fighting corruption remains a central priority of this administration. This year, we've strengthened alignment with the Financial Action Task Force standards and have signed the United Nations Convention Against Cybercrime on behalf of South Africa, and we are currently working towards ensuring that treaty is being ratified by Parliament. We have advanced critical reforms to protect our witnesses in terms of witness protection, which is currently situated in NPA, and we do believe that that's appropriate to be there. We've tightened the Section 38 appointment policy, which was previously not in place. This is to support NPA and IDEC in the capacity that they need for the corruption cases that are before courts. Special Investigating Unit and Special Tribunal has already resulted in the work that is being done, has been able to, working together with Asset Forfeiture Unit, result in over 3 billion being recovered from corruption-related investigation. We can also congratulate SIU as the lead on the G20 anti-corruption platforms of the work of showcasing South Africa in this regard. We continue to strengthen capacity in all our units, in IDEC, Specialized Commercial Crime in the NPA unit, Asset Forfeiture, and we do believe that all this work will result in rebuilding confidence in our justice system. NPA remains a critical institution in our country, and it deserves our support, and we have committed to ensuring that it is supported. We'll continue to ensure that NPA operates without no interference, with the independence that they require, and as guaranteed by the Constitution. In the work on the TRC and reparation, ladies and gentlemen, you'll note that substantive work has been done in doing the inquest, opening the cases so that people can find justice, especially in relation to their families. In the detail of the statement, you'll see the number of areas and the number of inquests that we are listing. In terms of time, in the interest of time, I don't want to go into detail of this because I do note that I've been here for a long time, but also commit as the Department of Justice and on behalf of government that we continue to support the Gampepe Commission in doing its work, in establishing whether there's been an interference in the prosecution of TRC cases. And we are not stopping. We continue to see quite a number of cases coming through. And we will continue to work around the clock to ensure that the families that are seeking justice are receiving their justice. Just to indicate in this area, we have finalized in one of the areas in terms of the report of the TRC in terms of housing of those victims whose houses have been bombed by the apartheid system. The regulations have been finalized. We are currently engaging with the families to be able to do this work, and we will be looking forward for the President to launch this project and conclude it. This will be one of the areas that has been long outstanding, amongst it as well, the community projects. If you look at the TRC report, it has had segments of interventions that government needed to do, and these two were the outstanding that we are currently finalizing and implementing. As I conclude, a lot of work remains to be done for us to achieve the vision contained in the Freedom Charter that says all shall be equal before the law. We'll continue to strengthen our institutional capacity. We'll capacitate them. with the right skills, expand access to justice to reach all South Africans and build confidence in the justice system. Across all this priority, our goal remains constant to build a justice system that is independent, efficient, accountable, and centered on the needs of the people. We will continue with this work with the agency and the commitment it deserves. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Colleagues, at this stage, let's open the floor for questions. Do we have any questions from the floor? I'll take three at the moment. Please introduce yourself and the media house that you represent. You'll be next, and then the third one will be yourself.
Freelancer. I'm a social worker in private practice, and for the last 5 years I've been working to support whistleblowers with psychosocial professional support. I've come to this particular briefing in a state of deep grieving because I've seen yet again, as a regular installment, as we've seen over the years since the Zondo Commission, whistleblowers being killed. I can provide them with psychosocial, emotional, spiritual support. I can't protect them. The best I can do is advise them to get a bulletproof vest. So I'm here to basically say, why has it taken so long? Since the Zondo Commission and Zondo himself pleading for this protection, I can tell you my theory, and that is there is still elements within our state that are deliberately working to retard whistleblower protection, because in terms of anti-corruption, it's the best available means of dealing with the corruption is whistleblowers, and it would be bad for their business. As I sit here, one of the potential whistleblowers has just told me on WhatsApp he's now too scared to come forward and share his information.
No, thank you, John. Minister.
Okay, all I'm wanting to ask is, I'm not here not to fight with you. I'm trying to say, how can we find common cause as civil society, the media and the state to deal with this problem? And that's why I've come here.
No, thank you for that.
Good morning. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Mike, please. Please switch off, John.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Good morning. I'm Zoleka Kodashi from Newsroom Africa. Minister, I just wanted to ask if the office or the department is satisfied with the reasoning that was provided, that the witness that has now been gunned down was not willing to take any witness protection. I wanted to know also, in terms of the witnesses that are still to come before the Commission, and if there's any fears that the same may transpire before the ad hoc committee. I know that's a separate process, but if there is that fear, because you'll remember that there was a member of parliament that was also hijacked and threatened. So if there is a fear in that regard as well. I also want to ask a separate question, Minister. You spoke about the matter in Malawi with the self-proclaimed prophet Bushiri. You said that matter would now, the NPA, after receiving the judgment, the NPA would proceed forward. But a Supreme Court of Appeal judgment had said that the power to extradite rests with the Justice Department, and the Justice Department is the one that's been spearheading that process in relation to the Malawi matter. I know that there is a matter currently before the Constitutional Court where the NPA had sought to appeal the retrospective effect of that judgment, but it's not to appeal the judgment in its entirety. So that power still lies with the Justice Department. I just want to know to what extent the NPA would be intervening in that matter. Thank you.
The last question of the first batch.
Good morning, my name is Pathikila Moirani from ESA. Essentially, Minister, my questions are based on the issue of whistleblowers and the witness protection. As to going forward now, how are you intending to handle the Madlanga Commission in terms of protecting the witnesses there? And the other question, it's based on the TRC issues, on TRC inquiry appointed by the President, led by Justice Sisi Khampepe. There are complaints that that particular inquiry, it's delaying. It's over 6 months now, it has been appointed, and there's no one who has been called to come forward to, to take the stand in the particular inquiry. What is the plan now going forward to deal with that and ensure that there is progress in terms of that inquiry?
Minister, that was the last question of the first page.
No, thank you very much. John, I do agree with you and many other South Africans about if we do not protect the whistleblowers, if we do not protect those who come forward and say they are willing to give evidence, information that is required, then we will not fight, we will not win the fight against corruption. That's very important. What we have done, and I think the issue is there's been mechanisms at various stages in terms of looking at how you intervene at various interventions. Let me just say, if you look at the work that is being done by SIU, for example, SIU, when they investigate and do come across a witness or a person who's done a whistleblower and they need protection in their identification, they have now partnered with a private sector, which is whistleblowers, what is the name? Whistleblower House. So where we acknowledge that there's no support, there's no capacity within the state, we partner. So it's not the work, and I acknowledge what you are saying about working together with NGOs, working together with everybody. We have opened that door to work together, as long as it doesn't compromise the cases. Because we do have those who have ill intentions, would say, you are working with this one, let me come and work, only to find that they're looking for information of those. So we do have mechanisms, and that's why what I announced today is that we have finalized the legislation. There was no legislation in place. And again, you can say, why did it take so long? We are here now, we are responding to it. Yes, it taken us so long. And I don't think, even prior to Zondo Commission, we understood the nature of what this corruption and the deepness of this corruption would have been. And similarly, when you raise the issue that there could be those within the public service that would be blocking some of these things, we can't say no. Because the Madlanga Commission tells us that there are people who were working within the state, not in the interest of the public, not in the interest of the Republic of South Africa, but for their own interest. And therefore, that's why we need to work around the clock, but in partnership to be able to do this work. So there are various mechanisms that we put in place. We've got witness protection that has been strengthened, that we continue to review its work to ensure that those who come forward and are our witnesses, then they are able to cooperate and escalate if there are issues. We do deal with those. Number two, in terms of investigations, and even when we do these commissions, and I'll come to how we are working on the others. And as I say, currently the people that would work with these whistleblowers will be your SIUs, will be NPA. The mechanisms are in place to be able to protect them. What we need to do, and that's why this legislation is important, and once we have been able to, you'll see when we release it, it talks about at national, at province, at local. But it also provides an oversight mechanism to be able to oversee. It puts time frames to say, let's say as a minister, I get a protected disclosure document. I have a particular time that I'm expected to respond to, and give to the, where possible, give to the public, protect the whistleblower what I have done about what information they've given to me. And if not, I do not act, then they can report to the judge to say this is what I have provided, has not been acknowledged, has not been reported to. So you'll see it's quite a work that has been done. We've been assisted by even international bodies. World Bank as well reviewed this bill to see if it's in line with international standards and the work that they've been able to see. So I am comfortable that we've done extensive work going forward. This will strengthen not only at national level, because we do acknowledge that even at municipalities, for example, where you have investigating officers in the internal audits needs to be protected if there's issues. So we making obligations across various spheres of government in terms of that work that needs to be done. So I do believe that we can. Maybe you can share where you need us to support, especially those that are coming through to you. The partnership, we can ask you. You don't have to work with me as a minister. We can give you the SIU. They've got the witness protection, whistleblower protection work that they are doing and other areas, so that we can see how best we continue to be able to provide for that. Maybe moving again into that, because Zoleka is asking me if I'm satisfied with the reasons that are given in terms of the protection. Yes, I am satisfied with what the explanation and the context. And as you know, these are sensitive matters that I can't go into detail about, including the fact that net joints will be meeting. The police are dealing in their side with the case to look at if there are other circumstances. And let me tell you where I'm still worried. You are asking if I fear. I do fear for the witnesses, and I'll tell you this why. The reason initially, the proposal that there must be in-camera testification was informed by the fact that there will be risks. And we needed to ensure that the risks are minimized extremely. If you talk to those who work with people who come forward as whistleblowers, will tell you that sometimes because of the person narrating publicly this story, the person who's been involved will know who this person is. Now, the best way of protecting that witness is for that not to be broadcasted. And I know we're going to fight with broadcasters, we're going to fight with media, but sometimes it's necessary. And this is what I've asked for the Madlanga Commission to do. To say, let's review, and we agree, because initially that's what they wanted to do. So they have agenda between now and January. This is where they need to do. Otherwise, we're going to have a commission that does not have people coming forward to testify because people are fearing for their lives. We don't know whether this, because I heard the police saying they have not identified fully 100% that the death of Mr. van der Merwe is linked to his being a witness at Madlang. And as I say, my concern as a minister is the fact that the public, before even Madlanga Commission can say anything, the public knew that this is Witness D. This is extremely worrying, that media was already running, social media was already running, that Witness D has been killed. And the question we must ask ourselves, how did they know that this person is Witness D? And it could be that somebody who heard him testify knew about the incident. As you heard his testimony, there were about 10 and all those things, they did this incident. So maybe somebody amongst them knew. But if we had done this in camera, this would not, you would have come with this statement at the end, at the reporting period. So my appeal to the media today, I know, and I'm prepared for us to have a meeting with media houses to review the issue of us broadcasting these witnesses, to review how we have approached the courts for a litigation to broadcast these testimonies. I am willing to meet. I know Judge Madlanga is willing to meet, because all of us must take the cap of being patriotic South Africans. All of us must think first about those witnesses and their families before anything else. That's why in my statement I started by saying public interest can supersede the life. And that's why we must go into that area. On the issue of Bushiri, the law says that minister must authorize. So minister doesn't get in the prosecution work. So once there's a court judge in court, it's the prosecutors that gets involved. It's NPA. So minister receives the document to say we want to extradite this person. The minister looks at those assisted by the department and the deputy minister to go through that this meets the requirements. This does not violate our laws, does not violate the Constitution, and then minister authorizes. Once minister authorizes, that work then goes to NPA to do so. The judgment does not nullify the work of the NPA. It's the prosecutors that go to court. And that's why in this case, it will be NPA that looks at the judgment, and NPA independently will make a determination, and they will communicate such to us in terms of this one. Bafedile, I think I did touch on that, on how we want to go forward in terms of the witnesses in the Matlanga Commission, but not only that one, across all over. We did put mechanism of protection services within the Matlanga Commission, and each witness as it comes, there's engagement by the Commission in terms of their safety and all that. And I think at this point, with this incident again, the Commission will have to meet, review its processes, review its witnesses, interact again back with the witnesses to check if they still feel that those who said they don't want protection, they still. There is, maybe let me just share with the public what some of the difficulties, and maybe John is here as well as people who work in the protection, and many of the people. With this one, when the person is not identified and say, I don't want to go into a witness protection. So witness protection house is that you are taken away from your community, you are there. So majority of them are not willing. We try our best to do that. But if then the person says, okay, it doesn't, and then you provide protection. And the other issues, it's your protection, such as bodyguards, if I may say, protection services. Common language is bodyguards. Sometimes that person can be easily identified by the fact that they go around with bodyguards, because people will start asking the change of life. Why are you having bodyguards? They will know that, okay, it means there is an issue. So it's those things that you've got to find a balance as a country. It's something that we've got to learn to do that. There's quite a number of studies that have been done to try and improve, and that's why the bill as well will provide those mechanisms. But it's work that will continue to improve. And we are worried about the witnesses at Matlanga Commission. It might not be linked, but the fact that somebody has been killed, those who are still to testify might be deterred. And I want to urge them as patriotic South Africans to continue to support, but openly. And to those who have testified already, if they feel that they do need to engage, they must approach the Commission, and they will be provided with the support that they need, that the Commission has assured me. On the TRC Commission, the Khampempe Commission, there's been what we call case management meetings that has been continuing in terms of the work. I think because of the gathering of information, I have met with the Commission because the Commission had approached several past ministers and presidents and officials in government. And at that time, we had even to approach a cabinet, because the individuals, in terms of the policy of government, they would not be provided with legal representatives. Some of them are pensioners, and they couldn't put together their statements. So we had to go to cabinet to request for the policy to be reviewed, and you'd have seen a cabinet announce the review of the policy to allow for us to be able to provide them with legal support so that they are able to prepare their statements and support. It was purposefully for the TRC Commission, because we understood when we engaged with the Commission that this work will be deterred. And for example, I had a meeting with all former ministers of Justice to understand the information they require from the department, because it will not be in their hands, that they need to prepare their statements. And out of those, then we do believe that they will be able to catch up. They've asked for additional support in terms of evidence leaders to appoint addition. We have been the team is working on that to approve. I understand that they will be approving that so that they can be able to ensure that the work proceeds. So my expectation is that at the beginning of the year, when they resume, they will be able to. We have extended their time of reporting in terms of their requests, having had those hurdles at the beginning in terms of the area of work and the prescripts that they needed to do. So I expect that they will go ahead smoothly. We've not received an update that says that they will have challenges. Thank you.
Thanks, Minister. Colleagues, may I check if we have any questions online?
Currently, you are watching the briefing by the Minister of Justice and Constitutional
it does apply. To what extent can the Births and Deaths Registration Act also be invoked in relation to assisting in relation to witness protection? Because it does allow, there's a specific provision that allows for persons to actually change their surnames in relation to that. And also, when I ask about the satisfaction in relation to witnesses before the Commission of Inquiry, I'm asking because despite the fact that we did not see who Witness D was, there was that voice that people could hear, and that was not concealed. I want to know if that was a satisfactory measure that the department was satisfied with in relation to concealing the identity of Witness D. Thank you.
Any other hand before we invite the minister back? Do we have?
Yeah.
We have one more question online, Minister. Mr. Pala, do you mind reading it for us?
Okay. It comes from a journalist who hasn't identified him or herself. His or her question is there any future changes towards the duration of a person with a criminal record for theft expungement? Is it going to stay 10 years? Yeah. Something.
One follow-up question from Zolega, and then we invite the minister back.
Sorry, Minister, I forgot this question. I wanted to know, in terms of the review process, what the timeline will be, given the fact that the Commission of Inquiry will be resuming in about a month. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister.
Did you want to respond to the expungement? Yeah, please.
Okay. DG Kalepile will take the one question.
On the issue of expungements, yes, there's definitely moves to change the 10-year period, because what we found is that there's thousands of applications. Many people do not qualify because they haven't met the 10-year criteria. However, there are certain minor offences, such as shoplifting, trespassing, etc., where those ought to be expunged within a shorter period. And definitely we are looking at around 5 years, and this forms part of the criminal procedure review. I hope that satisfies that question. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. I want to respond to Ms. Kodash's question regarding witness protection. I think the registration of births Act does provide for name changes. It's not necessarily an integral part of witness protection. The point, though, that I think the Minister was trying to make is that witness protection can be a very, very onerous route for an individual to take. And that whilst we do offer those services, there is a witness protection unit in terms of the Witness Protection Act, which is housed in the National Prosecuting Authority. And it is a unit that has operated very, very effectively and has a very, very good track record in safeguarding witnesses. Part of the reasons why it has been so successful is that in many cases it requires a person and their families to uproot their entire social existence, their networks, their jobs, and many people find it extremely, extremely difficult. And there are a number of people who do go into witness protection and then subsequently ask to be released from witness protection. In the case of Witness D, as the Minister has indicated, witness protection was offered and it was refused. Or let's put it more kindly, it was declined for the reasons given. But I think the issue that we are focusing on now is how to take the good foundation that has been laid through the witness protection program and expand that to a much broader range of people, and in particular to whistleblowers. Thank you.
May I check if we have more hands on the floor or even online? Do we have any further questions? We have a hand from John.
I thought I just want to respond to that issue about protection. And this is really as much a challenge to my media friends. We would like to think that the media is a safe harbour for whistleblowers, and you certainly have been so helpful to me, all of the media houses of TV, because it's about hiding people in plain sight. However, there's also a perverse way in which media tends to work, that if they're wanting to assassinate somebody and they can't get to them, they will use social media and the media to do that assassination, to assassinate their character. So it's just really a call for a very diligent, ethical call to media houses to please be careful about being played by these thugs, because they're very smart. They know how to kind of manipulate the social narrative in such a way that it actually discredits the witnesses. And I've seen this, I hate to say, in the Mmamoloko Commission and the ad hoc committee, when we've seen Patricia Mashale and Mary de Haas be hung out to dry, when I know both of them deeply. I mean, Mary de Haas is a social worker with me. We have been working together against all odds. And what's now happening in the public space? This person has now been vilified and questioned. So we've got to be so careful. Don't just blame the government for not doing what they should be doing. We all have to take responsibility and examine more carefully how we go about our work to make sure that we're not just playing to sensationalism and to political agendas.
Colleagues, hands, I think this will be the end of the media briefing. The statement will be distributed shortly. I see a Zolega.
But it's the point about being able to identify witness D through his voice. I think that I'd like clarity on.
Oh, okay, Minister.
No, thanks, Zolek. I think, hence I said there will be a review. We have had a discussion, and I think the Madlanga Commission itself will speak for themselves in what they would have looked at to come to the determination at that point. But I know the major factor was the litigation, because I was consulted during that time. I knew that there was a case before the courts, that they were taken for this particular process. And remember that litigation didn't go to court because there was an engagement between the Madlanga Commission and the media houses, and that led to that. So I would not have the details, what they have agreed in that process, to what extent. Hence, the agreement generally, and I don't think I can say that they've been negligent. I don't think so. They've done everything in their powers to be able to protect. As I say, when I spoke even to Commissioner Khumalo didn't know who Witness D is, and to the point that he would not even be able to identify. So there are quite a number of things, and the police at the right time will give us detailed circumstances of this. All I'm raising is that in the engagement, which I believe that the Madlanga Commission will be doing, to say this is the review that we are doing, this is how we are going to proceed forward. My appeal is that let's support them so that they can be able to do the work appropriately. They can be able to do what is necessary. And if it means it's an in-camera, because as I say, some of the people, I mean, for example, the testifying and all those things, it's based on the circumstances that we would know. If it was the two of us at a point and somebody is testifying, I'll know who that person is. And that's why the engagement at the point of maybe some of the information we'll have to know it when the report is released. And understand that some of the issue, the Commission has the powers to recommend for prosecutions. So we don't want at the point where prosecutions have to happen and we don't have people to testify in that court of law. So that's where the issue is. I do think that the Commission has done a fantastic job. They've been doing well. And tightening of work that is being done. There's quite a lot of things that are going into the social media space. There's quite a lot of information that are going. And as John was saying, all ourselves, that not get, the issue of tweeting as well. We rush to tweet without information, and we create a lot of suspicion. And sometimes we even forget there's families behind this. And all that. So I heard for the first time that actual Witness D had approached. Did he identify himself when he wanted to approach ENCA to say, I'm coming for an interview? How did they know that it's him? It's those things that worries. And also the conversation will not be only with the media houses. I think they will extend it to various bodies that needs to be. And as I said, I opened my door to say if media needs us to engage, let's engage. Remember, previously I even raised the issue of media houses in a court where they are broadcasting a case. They will show a face of a prosecutor. And we could link that to some of the threats the prosecutors will receive. And that's important. When you do that, and very funny, one of the issues you'd find that in a court where there's a suspect, they would not show the suspect. They will be showing the face of the magistrate or the judge and the face of the prosecutor. Now, those people then, you put their lives at risk because they are identified by these gangs, these criminals, to say this is the person who actually prosecuted my friend or our associate. This is the person who actually sentenced our associate. So it's those things that as we mature, we support openness of democracy, we support the transparency, but let's also look at what are the unintended consequences that comes with it, and how can we be able to protect our organizations, our institutions, but most importantly, our country from thugs, from criminals, so that they don't prosper while our witnesses die, they don't prosper while ordinary South Africans who want to build a better country are suffering. And that's the work that all of us have to do.
Minister, thank you so much. I think we have reached the end of our media briefing. I would like to take this moment and thank you, members of the media, for availing yourselves on a Saturday. And let me thank you, Minister, Deputy Minister, the entire management team that are here today for gracing this media briefing. And with that, we have reached the end of our media briefing. The media statement will be circulated on all our platforms, the internet, the WhatsApp group, the WhatsApp channels within a good time. Thank you. Thank you, Minister.